All right, let's jump right in. We're doing a deep dive today into Python programming.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We got this article, Python Programming, a gateway to endless possibilities.
Uh,
And I'm already hooked by the title. Um, why is Python so popular? Is it really that game-changing?
Well, it's funny. Python's really having a moment right now. And I think a lot of it comes down to how it bridges the gap between beginners and experts.
Hmm.
It's simple enough to pick up quickly, but it's also got the muscle for serious development.
So easy to learn, but also powerful.
Exactly. The article talked about Python syntax being close to plain English.
Right, right.
Well,
I was going to say that was something that really jumped out at me. How much does that actually matter for someone just starting to code?
it's huge. Think about it.
Hmm?
Most programming languages are like learning a foreign language, all new grammar, new rules.
Hmm.
But Python is like having a conversation.
Ah, I
So
know.
instead of getting bogged down by the language, you could focus on like actually solving problems, which is the fun part.
That makes sense. But the article also mentioned something about multiple programming paradigms: procedural, object-oriented, and functional. That seems like a lot, even for someone who's not brand new to coding.
Yeah, it might sound a little intimidating at first, but think of it like this.
Yeah.
Imagine you're building a house. You can build it brick by brick, step by step. That's procedural. Or you could use like pre-made walls, roof sections. That's object-oriented.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture.
Right. And then functional programming, that's more like an assembly line. You're taking data and transforming it through a series of functions. What's great is that Python lets you choose the style that fits the problem best.
So you're not locked into one way of doing things. You have options.
Exactly. And that flexibility is really valuable as you start tackling more complex projects.
You know what else caught my eye? Python's extensive libraries. What's the big deal about those?
Oh, the libraries are a game changer. They're pre-built modules of code designed to handle specific tasks so you don't have to write everything from scratch. It's all about saving you time and effort.
So like reusable building blocks.
Exactly. Like take NumPy, for example. Data scientists use it to work with massive data sets, and it does these incredible calculations super efficiently.
So instead of writing a ton of code to do some complex math, you just call a function from the library.
Precisely. And it's not just NumPy. There are libraries for almost everything. Visualization with Matplotlib, web development with Django, even training AI models with TensorFlow.
Wow, so it's like having a whole toolbox of pre-made solutions ready to go.
It is. It's one of the things that makes Python so powerful. You can build almost anything you can imagine with the right libraries.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. But how do you even know where to begin with all those libraries? The article mentioned a few, but are there any that are considered like essential for beginners?
Definitely. For data science, Pandas is huge for data manipulation. And then there's scikit-learn, which is great for building machine learning models.
Okay.
If you're more interested in web development, then Flask and Django are go-tos. And for anyone thinking about AI, you can't go wrong with TensorFlow.
So plenty to choose from. But let's say I build something awesome in Python. Am I limited to running it on a specific operating system?
Ah, great question. That's actually one of Python's major strengths, its portability. You can write code on, say, a Windows machine and then run it smoothly on a Mac or Linux system.
So no compatibility nightmares. That's a relief.
Exactly.
Ah.
It makes collaboration super easy, too, since everyone can work on the same project no matter what system they're using.
That's a huge plus for sure. And speaking of collaboration, the article highlighted Python's massive online community. What makes that so special?
Oh, the communities are fantastic. It's more than just a group of people. It's a real support system. Whether you're stuck on a problem or just need clarification on something, you can always find help online.
I can imagine that being a lifesaver, especially when you're just getting started.
It is. You've got forums like Stack Overflow where you can ask questions and get answers from experienced developers, tons of tutorials, online courses.
Sounds like a wealth of knowledge.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that makes learning Python so much easier. You're never really alone when you're coding in Python.
Okay, so Python is easy to learn, super versatile, has a great community. I'm starting to get why it's so popular. But let's talk about what you can do with Python.
No, we're getting to the fun stuff. Honestly, the possibilities are almost endless with Python. It's being used everywhere these days.
Well, give me some examples. What are some real-world applications?
All right, well, let's start with web development.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever wondered how companies like Instagram and Pinterest build these massive, engaging websites?
I have, actually.
Yeah, well, Python frameworks like Django are a big part of that.
So Python isn't just for data scientists and AI researchers?
Nope, not at all. It's just as powerful for building dynamic, user-friendly websites. Django, for example, is known for being super robust. It handles everything from user authentication to database management. It's perfect for those really big, complex projects.
So Django is for the heavy lifting. What about something a little lighter?
Then you've got Flask, which is more lightweight and flexible. It's great for smaller applications where you need more agility. It's kind of like choosing between a powerful SUV and a sleek sports car. Both are fantastic, but it depends on what you need it for.
Okay, I'm following you. It sounds like Python has a lot to offer across different types of web development, but I know it's also making a splash in data science and machine learning.
It's more than a splash. It's a tidal wave. Python has basically become the language for data science, largely because of those awesome libraries we talked about. They make it incredibly powerful for analyzing and manipulating data.
So can you give me some concrete examples of what you can actually achieve with Python in data science? Like, what problems can it solve?
Let's say you're a business analyst and you're drowning in spreadsheets. Python can help you analyze sales trends, forecast future demand, even build recommendation systems based on customer behavior.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Or let's say you're in healthcare. Python can be used to analyze patient data, identify risk factors for diseases, even personalize treatment plans.
Wow, so it's about finding insights hidden in the data.
Exactly. Python gives you the tools to see those patterns and make sense of massive amounts of information.
So we've covered web development, data science. What about artificial intelligence? That seems to be where all the buzz is these days. What's Python's role in that?
Oh, Python is absolutely essential in AI. It's the driving force behind a lot of the advancements we're seeing. Libraries like TensorFlow, Keras, and PyTorch have made it possible to build incredibly complex neural networks, the kind that power things like chatbots and even self-driving cars.
So you don't have to be like a math genius to get into AI with Python.
Not at all. Python has really democratized AI development. It makes it more accessible for people from different backgrounds to create innovative solutions.
I like that. So Python is making cutting-edge technology more accessible to everyone. That's pretty powerful. But, not everyone is going to be building websites or training AI models. Can Python be used for more everyday tasks?
Of course. One of Python's biggest strengths is its ability to automate tasks.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about those tedious, repetitive things you do on your computer. Renaming a bunch of files, extracting data from a website, organizing your folders. Python can do all of that for you in a flash.
So it's a real time saver, even for people who aren't like professional programmers.
Absolutely. It's all about working smarter, not harder. And let's not forget about the fun stuff. Python's also a great language for game development.
Wait, hold on. Python for gaming?
Yeah. You can use libraries like Pygame to create simple 2D games. It's a really fun way to learn programming fundamentals.
Okay, I'm starting to understand why people call Python a gateway language. It seems like it can open doors to so many different areas of technology.
It really can. From web development to data science to AI, even gaming, Python is this incredibly versatile tool that can help you achieve all sorts of things.
And it's all thanks to its ease of use, its extensive libraries, and of course that amazing community we talked about.
Exactly. It's the whole package.
All right, I'm officially convinced. Python is a force to be reckoned with. But, learning any new programming language can feel a little daunting at first.
It can be, yeah. It's like stepping into a whole new world.
So where does someone even begin? The article mentioned Python being relatively easy to learn, but are there any specific resources or approaches that you'd recommend for a beginner?
Luckily, there are tons of resources out there to help you on your journey. It's easier than ever to learn Python.
Well, I'm definitely eager to hear more about those resources. Let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive, shall we?
Sounds like a plan. So yeah, when it comes to learning Python, the great thing is there are a lot of different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
You can really find what clicks with you.
That's good to hear. I think a lot of people get intimidated by coding because they think it's all, memorizing syntax and algorithms. But it sounds like there are some more hands-on, engaging ways to learn Python.
For sure. If you like a more structured approach, websites like Codecademy offer interactive Python courses. They walk you through the basics with these hands-on exercises.
Okay, so it's like having a virtual tutor guiding you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You get instant feedback as you learn, so you know if you're on the right track.
That's cool. What about for people who learn best by actually, doing and experimenting? Are there any resources for that kind of hands-on learning?
Absolutely. Tools like Jupyter Notebook and Google Colab are perfect for that.
Okay, I've heard of Jupyter Notebook. What's it all about?
So Jupyter Notebook basically lets you write and run Python code in this web-based environment. You can experiment, visualize data, create interactive documents. It's really cool.
So it's a good way to just play around with code and see what happens.
Exactly. It's like a digital lab notebook for your code.
Hmm.
And then there's Google Colab, which is similar but even more powerful. Well, Google Colab is cloud-based, so you have access to these really powerful computing resources, which is super helpful for, machine learning and stuff like that.
Ah, that makes sense. Because those tasks can be pretty demanding on your computer.
Exactly. And the best part is you can access Google Colab from anywhere, and you don't have to set up anything. It's like having a supercomputer right in your browser.
That's pretty amazing. So we've got online courses, interactive coding environments. What about books? Any recommendations from the article for good Python books?
Oh yeah, there are some great ones. It depends on what you're interested in and your skill level, but a really popular one for beginners is Automate the Boring Stuff with Python.
I've heard of that one. What's it about?
It teaches you how to use Python to automate everyday tasks, like
Hmm.
renaming files, web scraping, stuff like that.
So you can make your computer do the boring work for you.
Exactly. It's a really practical and fun way to learn. There's also Python Crash Course, which
Hmm.
is a good overall introduction to the language.
Okay, good to know. Any others?
If you're looking for something a little more advanced, there's Fluent Python, which goes deeper into the nuances of the language.
So there's a book out there for everyone. We've talked about online courses, books. What about community support? Are there any specific communities or forums you'd recommend for Python learners?
Definitely. The official Python documentation is a good place to start. It's
Yeah.
got everything you need to know about the language and its libraries.
All right, so straight from the source.
hmm And then there's Stack Overflow, which is like this massive Q&A forum for programmers.
Ah, so if you're stuck on a problem, you can just search for it on Stack Overflow.
Yep. Chances are someone else has already run into the same issue and figured out a solution.
That's got to be super helpful. What if I prefer something a little more, interactive and social?
Then definitely check out the Hard-Learned Python subreddit on Reddit.
What's that like?
It's a great community of people who are learning Python, just like you. You can ask questions, share your projects, get feedback, all sorts of stuff. It's a really welcoming and supportive environment.
Sounds like a great way to connect with other learners. Okay, so let's say I've got the basics of Python down, and I'm ready to start actually building things.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of projects would you recommend for a beginner?
It's always best to start small and build your way up.
Right, small steps.
Exactly. How about a to-do list app?
Okay, a to-do list. I can see how that wouldn't be too overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a classic beginner project, and it teaches you a lot about creating a graphical user interface and handling user input.
Cool. Any other ideas?
Web scraping is another fun one. You can use the Beautiful Soup library to extract information from websites like headlines, prices, things like that.
So you could build a program that checks your favorite websites for new content or deals.
Exactly. It's a really practical way to learn about working with web data and automating stuff.
All right, those are some good ones for beginners.
Yeah.
What about for someone who's, ready for a bit more of a challenge?
Well, building a personal website using Flask is a good next step.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that being a fun project.
You'd learn how to create web pages, handle user interactions, even deploy the site online,
That sounds pretty advanced. What if I'm more interested in data visualization?
and maybe try building an expense tracker with charts and graphs to visualize your spending.
Oh, that's a cool idea. It would be really satisfying to see all that data come to life visually.
Right. And you'd get to practice your data manipulation and visualization skills.
Okay, these are all great ideas. It's inspiring to think about the possibilities once you have a solid foundation in Python. Any other suggestions for those who are really looking to push their skills?
If you're interested in AI, you could try building a basic chatbot.
Oh, wow, a chatbot. How would you even begin to do that?
You could use libraries like NLTK or integrate with services like Dialogflow. It's a fun way to dip your toes into natural language processing.
So you can make a bot that actually understands and responds to what people are saying.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing what you could do with Python these days.
I think we've done a fantastic job of covering the different ways to learn Python and the kinds of projects you can build with it.
Yeah, it's been fun.
What's really cool is that learning Python isn't just about, learning to code. It's about opening up all these creative possibilities.
I totally agree. It's about empowering yourself to solve problems, build useful tools, bring your ideas to life.
Beautifully put. And I think that's a perfect segue into your final thought-provoking question for our listeners. All right, I'm all ears. What's that question you have for our listeners?
Well, we've talked a lot about what Python can do, its potential. But now I want to turn it back to the listener. What will you do with it?
Ooh, I like that. It's a challenge. Like, okay, here are the tools. Now go build something awesome.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of Python. It gives you the power to create, to solve problems, to innovate.
You know, thinking about all the things we've talked about today, it makes me realize how much Python is already a part of our lives. Like all those recommendations you get on streaming services, the navigation apps, Python's working behind the scenes,
It is. And it's only going to become more prevalent.
which is pretty exciting when you think about it.
It is, because it means more people will have the ability to shape technology, to build the future they want to see.
Right. And with Python being so accessible, you don't have to be a coding expert to get started.
Not at all. That's the power of it. It's open to everyone.
Well, I think we've done a great job unpacking all the amazing things Python has to offer. We've talked about its strengths, its applications, the incredible community. Hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired to start their own Python journey.
I hope so too. It's been a pleasure talking about all of this with you.
Likewise. So, to our listeners out there, remember the only limit is your imagination. What problem will you solve? What amazing thing will you create?
We can't wait to see.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Python programming. Thanks for joining us and happy coding.